Sometimes when you stare into the fire, it just brings out all sorts of memories and thoughts. And this evening I was thinking about a time, actually it was probably back in the late 1970s, when my brother and I took a hike across the Bitterroot-Selway Wilderness and some of the old gear we carried. It was a tough hike, but we were much younger, and I thought it was a great time. He thought it was a hike from hell. But thinking about it, maybe it was. If we did it again today, it would certainly be a lot easier, because I can almost close my eyes and see that country and see him carrying the old-time gear that we carried at the time. Let's take a minute and look at some of the stuff we had then.
I feel like I just woke up from a dream. I love sitting around the campfire, but it does bring back the memories. And I brought a few things out here today just to share with you as to what it's like now as how it used to be. So, let me grab a couple of items. Back in the day, this is what I carried. As a matter of fact, back in the 70s, I hiked with my son in Puerto Rico in the rainforest. I believe it was called El Yukon or something like that. And this is what we brought. This was the Coleman ultralight gear backpacking stove. And I tell you what, it's a great old stove, but compared to this at less than an ounce to this at 2.5 pounds, there's no comparison. This is still a pretty good old stove though. It uses multi-fuel, even white gas, or non-leaded I guess, but very heavy. Might be okay for car camping. The next item I want to talk about is bear spray. If you'll notice in our picture, he was wearing his bear spray on his hip. That's right, that's what he carried, a pistol. Why? Well, it was to shoot bears if they attacked us, which they didn't. But he didn't have much choice, because the bear spray, as you see here, was developed in 1986, and I believe that's when it first came on the market by the company in Missoula, Montana. It's a lot less costly than that sidearm. It's quieter, and well, depending on who's carrying the firearm, it's probably more effective. But I didn't mind him carrying that pistol because I knew the noise might scare away a bear if we needed it, even if he couldn't hit anything. And I also knew that I could run faster than him. Route finding has also become much easier than back in the day when we had a compass and a map, which was just fine. I still like to use a compass and a map. But then, after the compass came the GPS. It was a handy device. You could figure out how to use it, and most people can. I at least could use it to the point where it would tell me where I was at. And this was a simple one, but I'm a simple kind of guy. But even I have evolved, where now I have not only a directional device, but a beacon. This is the Spot X, and I did a review on this earlier. If you want to check out that video, it's not a real in-depth review, it's just comments on using this. But boy, I tell you what, since 1978, when I started seriously backpacking with this, until 2020 with this, there's a lot of changes. Back in 1978, when we did that trip across the Bitterroot-Selway Wilderness, the tent we carried wasn't this one. I don't even know what happened to that tent, but it was about this size. This is an old Eureka. As a matter of fact, I've still used this upon occasion if I'm not going in too far and maybe I want to set up a base camp, but I pretty much replaced it with other tentage. And now my tent is this size. So there's a huge difference. The tents have gone from probably about 5 pounds that I used to carry to this one is about, well, it's less than 2 pounds. And of course, there are tents that are a lot lighter than this and also a bit more expensive. But boy, it sure helped reduce my pack weight today when I left the big heavy tent at home and I started carrying a small one-person camp or tent. Well, let's talk about what we carry it all in, and that's the pack. The pack we have here, back in the day, was an old external frame pack. And you know, I've still got a couple of those old JanSport external frame packs, and there's nothing wrong with them. But the newer lightweight packs are just that, a lot lighter. They may be smaller. I don't have to carry a 70 centimeter tent camp any longer. I can get by with this. This is an REI Flash 52. Actually, I think it's a woman's backpack. But because my equipment is a lot smaller and a lot lighter, I'm able to go a little smaller and lighter. And that's the difference between now and then. Wrap this up. One other item I want to point out that I guess it may have been around back in the day when I started hiking, but usually it was just growing on a tree or laying on the ground. I'm talking about the modern trekking pole. I believe it's what I call a hiking stick. But these have made it a whole lot easier and a lot safer, particularly for those more experienced hikers such as myself. As you know, or if you've watched some of my other videos, that some of the items that I carry to make my hike much more enjoyable would be considered comfort items. Back in the day, when I was backpacking and I wanted to find a comfort item, this is what I looked for. Now, I have a chair. I've reviewed this chair in one of my other videos. It cost me less than 2 pounds, about 1.5 pounds. But I tell you what, after being out on the trail, particularly if you're setting up more of a base camp to backpack out of for several days, you can't beat that chair. So we didn't have them then. I noticed these came on the market, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago. A lot more expensive than I could afford at the time. But if you check out one of my videos on this particular review, you'll find that they're not nearly as expensive as you think they might be. I hope you enjoyed looking at some of the items we used to use in the day. As I said, that picture that my brother was, I believe, 1978. And we've come a long ways, and not only do we have more comfort items, more equipment, more technology, but because of that and the reduction of weight, we've been able to carry much smaller packs. I usually get by with a pack of somewhere around maybe 20 pounds, depending if I'm in the desert, like I am here, where we might need some water more often than we do in the mountains, or if I'm just setting up a base camp. But I tell you, having that lighter pack makes it a much easier proposition for someone who might consider themselves a senior hiker. But time to get on down the trail. And next time I plan on doing a little backpacking trip and trying out a new gadget that I'm picking up. But until then, keep hiking.